Hello, my name is Kerry Thomas, founder of THT Bloodstock, a full-service international bloodstock company based here in the United States, and appreciate you tuning in today. You know, the last couple of days we had a heck of a blizzard here, and I didn't have electricity for a while, and I wasn't so sure if I was going to get a chance to do this, and I wanted to thank HorseTech Conference for inviting me to be a part of this, and even though it might be a little brief, wanted to get something together to introduce you to THT Bloodstock and our work in herd dynamic profiling and how we use technology and advancing technology to enhance our business and to enhance our information for clients. First of all, what we specialize in is the psychological athlete, you know, evaluating the herd dynamic aspects, the mind-to-body fluency, the sensory system efficiency, how a horse is managing and distributing emotional stress. These things are imperative to, you know, realizing physical talent. I mean, you can have the greatest physical and an awesome pedigree and just have an average horse when it comes down to the mental capacity of competition. And, you know, when you're talking about herd animals, one of the hardest things for them to do inherently is to operate independent of that herd nature. And of course, in racing, that's what we want. We want a horse that can separate themselves and not be so attached to the herd dynamic and have more independence within that helps them realize their physical talent. So we specialize in that after many, many years of research, and it's been it's always an ongoing thing of learning, and I love it. And we've applied technology in various ways, and we continue to do that. One of the unique ways that we evaluate horses for racing, if you take a look at thtbloodstock.com, you know, each year for the past 11 years now, it's to be our 12th year, we've done the Kentucky Derby analysis. My business partner, Pete Dank, who's in Lexington, and just for reference, I'm just above Fair Hill here in the States. We have done the Kentucky Derby analysis each year for the last 11 years. This will be our 12th year. And it's an example of how we apply video analysis and performances, evaluating races, and create a behavioral, genetic, and herd dynamic pattern of motion profile of the horses in contention for the Kentucky Derby. And I think you might get a good feel for our work by checking that out, how we use technology for that. It's a big race analysis section of thtbloodstock.com, and we are going to do it again this year. It'll be, once again, through Brisnet and Churchill Downs. And then the other way, we use it for, you know, everything you can imagine. You know, from video analysis, we get videos from horse sales, which we can attend. And especially this last couple of years, you know, we've had to really focus and access video content from folks who are able to be on the ground and send us videos of the horses at yearling sales to allow us to evaluate the sensory efficiency and all the things that we do to determine mental aptitude. Because the bottom line is the operating system runs the machine. I mean, it's as simple as that. If any athlete or any performer, if I myself sitting here got all amped up and mentally, I could be physically prepared, but if I can't mentally handle the stress or pull it off, then, you know, I'm just, I'm not performing to my top ability. And horses and all athletes are the same way. You know, especially as you climb higher in the ranks and in competition, what separates these animals and all athletes really who are similar in training and similar in physical and all those things is their mental aptitude. And it's such a defining factor. So the mind-to-body fluency, things like how are you handling emotional stress? How are you handling the interpretation of the environment? How that affects your fluency? You know, and herd animals need to be independent of that herd dynamic. They need to have as much independence under stress as possible to separate themselves to realize physical talent. And I always say the operating system certainly runs the machine. You know, for example, from technology standpoint, we just recently finished up work with the National Yearling Sale in New Zealand, assessing videos that were shot on the ground. And we were able to evaluate the horses through that avenue and be able to come up with a selected short list. Obviously, you like to be on site and combine both things. But, you know, I always say the herd dynamic profiling is a service that through video can be done from anywhere in the world, because you can shoot your video or you can send us your racing videos or give us a link or whatever we find from different places to evaluate that. and we can come up with a full evaluation just based off the technology of that. But it's one of those things where, there's nothing more important than understanding not just what the horse is, but who the horse is, how they're operating, how they're handling that stress. And I always tell people it's not just about racing. I mean, the bottom line is there's a lot of space between the hammer at the auction and the starting gate in their first race. There's a lot of things that have to happen in between all that. And, herd dynamic evaluations allows us to determine just if the horse can even handle that. We always look for things in the physical. Do they have the right knees? Do they have the right hocks? Do they have the right shoulder angle? Do they have the right hip? And all the various things, all very important things that go into the fact, like, is this horse going to hold up physically to the rigors of training and to that lifestyle to become an athlete, to even get there? Because there's so many things that can go against you. And if you can minimize the negative ingredients physically, it gives you, a little bit of an advantage. And also the same thing applies to the psychological aspects of the horses. And if you can minimize the antagonists, the mental antagonists, you can increase your chances of success by swaying those odds into your favor. It's always an uphill battle. And if you don't collaborate the two, the mind and the body, I think you're missing part of or a big, huge part of the total athlete. So it is, can they handle the stress? Can they live the lifestyle? And can they do everything they need to do mentally to not just handle the lifestyle, but succeed and optimize physical talent? And that's the big key for us in our part of our evaluation. And what we do here is, everything from evaluating behavioral genetics for breeding programs and assessing that. And, can the horse perform to what level? Troubleshooting, hey, my horse is not, it's racing, but it's always second, it's always third, or it can't pass a horse, or, it has physical talent, but it just can't get over the threshold. And so we come in and we can evaluate that, and oftentimes we identify some sort of mental trigger that's holding the horse back, or whether it's a sensory thing, whether it's just outsourcing. Mid-level herd horses have a tendency under stress to outsource. If they can't interpret the environment, they're going to reach out to a buddy, or they're going to wait for another horse to tell them what to do, basically through their rhythm, and they won't make their own decision, even if they're physically capable of passing certain horses or splitting the gap and things of that nature. Just, in the herd dynamics, you're going to find 85% of horses are really just average herd dynamics. Mentally, they're going to have holes in the sensory system. And the key about the sensory system to remember is that a sensory lead change is very, very important. We all are familiar with what a physical lead change is and the importance of that for physical efficiency. But for psychological efficiency, the sensory lead change is just as important to the mind-to-body fluency, is what I call the fluency. That how the horse is moving, not just in the environment, but you want your horse to move through the environment and to be able to identify and interpret and respond in an efficient manner. And that has to happen in a fast sequence. So a sensory lead change, one of the things that you're looking for, or that we look for, is can a horse interpret or hand off stimulus from one sensory aspect to another without losing physical efficiency? And say you have a stimulus going from the visual aspect to the ear aspect to behind the horse or around the horse, things of that nature. How much does that trade-off and how much does that stimulus moving through the sensory system affect the physical motion? And what you ideally want is you don't want it to have any effect at all. You want the environment to be interpreted mentally and not causing stress and disrupting physical motion, because it only takes a minor hiccup in physical motion to take you off your game, to lose by a nose, or to get other horses get the drop on you, coming out of nowhere. And it's just these are little small things that pieces of the puzzle. And that's what we do with the herd dynamic evaluations. And again, like I said, video is such an important part of that, and technology and applying that, because we can break down the film, we can do nearly a frame-by-frame analysis, we can watch it over and over again, and not just study the horse, but study the environment, because we have to remember that the environment is an essential part of not just developing a horse, but in whether the horse is meeting antagonists or is it going to move through properly. And this affects every part of the horse's life. I mean, the horses are living, they're the same horse 24/7. So who they are and how they're handling things, in the stall, in the mornings, in the shed row, in their daily lives is going to translate to how they're dealing with things on the racetrack and competition. And there's little clues, especially as yearlings and as, breeze up sales and things of that nature. But yearlings and even weanlings, you can get clues to identify the character traits that are in there, the tendencies, and give you an idea of the growth patterns that the horse is likely to take. And not only that, it's not just important to identify those factors just for the horse's sake, but when you're planning the future of the horse, when you get a yearling and you have this information about the psychological rhythms and you're getting an idea of